Okay, we got to have. It was 2 days ago that the CSCS, the Central Securities Clearing System, as you've known it, over the last 20 years and thereabouts, held a very major presentation about what its new strategy would be for the next 3 years, and that would effectively take it to that magical year called 2020. It's going to be very interesting. So let's get to talk to Haruna Jallo Waziri, who is the Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director of CSCS PLC, also listed on the NESD over-the-counter. And this is his first live television interview in the new year 2018. It's good to have you here, sir. We appreciate it. Yes, this is your first interview on television, live in the studio this year. So, what's your first word? When you look at the market, you look at the new year, and you say, hold on a second, this is my thought for the new year in summary.
Sincerely speaking, I think the market has been bullish. According to a report by JP Morgan, global markets would be very, very exciting in 2018. Despite what's happened in the markets in Europe and America and Asia over the last 3 or 4 days, we've seen some recovery. And the thinking generally is that it's likely to be a good year.
The CSCS, which you're now effectively in charge, was an organization I had the privilege of seeing its creation way back 20, 25 years ago, and all that went into it, and came to be a very unique institution when you talk about the marketplace. And take us through the last 20 years. Last year was the 2 decades, 20th anniversary.
That's correct. As you know, the CSCS is 20 years last year. It was formed in 1997, operationally active in 1998. The key reason why the CSCS was formed was to try and eliminate counterparty risk from a trading perspective. So if you recall, back in the day at the Nigerian Stock Exchange, brokers used to exchange checks on Friday for trades that had been done over the week. You could imagine what would have happened.
Don't remind me.
Exactly.
Don't remind me on the manual trading floor.
Exactly.
Everybody brings checks and handing it over to each other manually.
Exactly. So trades have occurred. Settlement was done by check, and clearing was anything between 37 and 21 days, depending on where the check originated. So the CSCS was formed to, first of all, reduce turnaround time for cash settlement, and also to reduce any aspect of counterparty risk from a obligation perspective. And so we've seen it grow significantly over the last 20 years in the sense that, we went from T+5 to T+3 over those years. And, as it is right now, the CSCS is ready to do T+0 if possible. But that is not a decision of the post-trade institution. It's typically market determined. But having said that, we've seen the CSCS grow from a small institution clearing for the Nigerian Stock Exchange, leading up to now being rated by Thomas Murray as A, and like I said earlier at the presentation on Tuesday, that the only other institution that has a rating above A in Africa is Straight. So you can see pretty well where we are grown for the last 20 years. And understanding that the South African market is a more robust market, but one of the objectives that we have this year is to actually get to that A+ rating as well. Now, if you look at the CPMS IOSCO principles, there are 14 that, have to do with the market infrastructures like the CSCS. We've complied with all 14 that are obligatory. So that's something, that's quite unique for us and to also celebrate. The third one is around the ISO certification. So we've also met the ISO certification in 2016. So by and large, over the last 20 years, having grown from the small back office post-trade institution is now, becoming one of the most important financial market infrastructure in our economy in Nigeria.
That transformation was massive to become a listed company.
So, being a PLC under the regulation by the SEC means that, our shares can only be traded in a registered, OTC platform. And hence, so our shareholders have decided to trade our shares at the NESD, meeting the obligation of what the ISA or what the SEC has put as a rule, as a requirement. But having said that, being a PLC means that, today we have under 900 shareholders who actively, need to, discover price in some form. So the NSD was a good platform for them to actually exchange their shares for a good price, if you like.
In terms of transformation from what you say, for just being a very small office on the first floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange building, like a 3-bedroom flat kind of, to having his own entire brick and mortar and even have offices outside your main locations across Lagos. And we'll talk about data management later. I'm sure there have been a number of strategic plans over the life from your successors that you've inherited.
So the idea was, build a world-class market infrastructure as well respected, and also be a leading CSD in Africa, using technology, and innovating in that perspective, and to have a very highly workforce that will help achieve that. In trying to do that, what was trying to be avoided was, today, averagely, brokers use about 5 kilograms of paper in a month. So you can imagine all of that paper coming to the CSCS. So the ability to actually put in a paper document management system was key to what they wanted to achieve, which has been achieved almost 100% right now. So from a build perspective, the idea was be efficient, have those ratings and qualifications in terms of what you need to do, comply with CPMS and ISO, so which means you are becoming a world standard CSD. And so that also helps the exchanges that we support to be able to link, and cross-list, and for the back offices to be able to talk concurrently to facilitate trade.
Yes, but again, as soon as you were stepping into the CSCS, was the 2-year plan which was implemented. Take us through what this plan, this 2-year, which terminated 2017, what it actually achieved.
So again, between 2015 and 2016 was when the CSCS comply with the CPMS ISO principles, and that's quite very huge. It's within those 2 years that the Thomas Murray rating was done that got us to A standards. It was within those 2 years that you saw the CSCS implement fully the document management system that we have currently. It's within those 2 years that you saw the CSCS become how will I put it now, in the front in terms of technology by deploying the TCS banks, which is the new technology that we've deployed right now, issued by Tata. So by and large, those 4 key things, I think, were very key to the drive to where we got to today as it is, as a CSCS.
So what exactly does the CSCS want to become?
To be honest, all we want to do from a vision perspective is to be well respected in the global scene as a CSD, is to lead in Africa in terms of the CSD functions that we perform, and more importantly is that we will use technology, innovate on it, and then, of course, key to all of the underlying things is highly workforce.
When you say CSD,
yes,
explain that to the man on the street who is uninitiated. What really does a CSD mean?
It's simple. It's the Central Securities Depository. So today you have virtual shares. There are no paper certificates anymore. And those things have to be kept. Those things, when they're traded, have to be transferred. Those things have to, the registers of companies have to be updated. So a CSD is like a central depository of all your shares or all of your instruments that are traded. So we are the instruments that are traded in the market across both equities and other instruments that are traded in the market.
Would you be having more jobs to do as the Securities and Exchange Commission is pushing for full dematerialization, e-bonus, everything E these days, e-dividend warrants, and all of that? Do you think this will put to test everything that CSCS had been over the last 2 decades?
So ideally, in most markets, the issue of dematerialization is something that has been gone past. So we just dematerialized last year 100%, by the way. So as it is, our market right now is 100% dematerialized. Now, whatever is not dematerialized, that means it's not being traded. So whatever is being traded has been dematerialized as far as the CSCS is concerned. And kudos to the SEC, which pushed for this thing to happen via, some kind of rule and regulation. Now, if you look at what we want to be from a perspective of the electronic systems, the CSCS, just like I said, deployed TCS banks. It's a robust software. Part of our strategic objective is, like I said, innovate on technology. And that what that means is that we're going to be able to offer services to everybody on an electronic platform. So go forward, we'll develop an API so everybody can come and connect to us via a virtual private network or some form. We will develop mobile apps for you to be able to, check your balances, and when trades are done, you see an evaluation as well. And you can do transfers between accounts if you own those accounts. If you have multiple, you can transfer to a broker and all of that.
Like you do with your normal banking.
So
like
exactly,
you transferring money to me. I wanted to say me to you, but
no, but we can't do that because there's an exchange. It has to go through an exchange. But what I'm saying is, if you have multiple accounts, just like you have in your bank account, you can transfer between own accounts. So if you have account A, broker B,
in the bank A,
exactly. So you can do that easily.
So that's coming.
Certainly, this
so
year.
that puts me in charge.
Certainly. So the idea is to touch the investor in the right place, because the idea is also to give the investor the independence to be able to take decisions very quickly. So we hope that should solve some of the problem. And when that happens, what it means is that there will be more trades being done, there's better price discovery, and you see liquidity in the market if you're able to do all of those things.
That sounds like blockchain.
So blockchain is another key thing that we're looking at. We're about to test some form of, with a partner in South Africa to see how announcements can be done using blockchain. So centrally done and distributed equally at the same time rather than go through certain mediums. So that's going to be tested this year as well.
When the stock exchange becomes public and fully demutualized, would that change anything as far as the CSCS is concerned? Would you have more work on your hands?
The stock exchange already, we are the post-trade institution for them. For me, I think if the stock exchange demutualizes, is that it opens up the possibilities in the market, which means more transactions, which means more capacity for us to service them better, and more products in the exchange, which we can also clear and settle. So it's an exciting idea for us. We support them 100%, and we think that's the right direction that they're going.
The stock exchange keep retooling its trading engine, and what are you doing the same thing if you're going to handle more volume?
So today we have the capacity with TCS banks. We have a DSI link, so it's real time with the exchange. And when they upgraded to NASDAQ Extreme, so that's why we also have to upgrade to TCS bank. So wherever they go, we follow them, and then because there's a relationship in terms of partnerships that we have with them. So whenever they make a move, we're aware, so we can also prepare for them. So we will support them as they move.
Let's touch very briefly before we go on break, your 3-year roadmap. In summary, what exactly is it?
So there are 5 principles of it. Number 1, we want to optimize our operations. Number 2, we want to make sure that we're customer-centric. Prior to now, the CSCS sits in the middle and everybody comes to it. Now we're going to go out there, like I told you, a better customer service using mobile app technology, whatever it is, whether it's website, and not just to the investor, but our stakeholders generally. Number 3 is to improve on the innovations that we have in technology, which I have mentioned. Number 4 is partnerships, both regulators, market stakeholders, and all of that. The last is that, we're a PLC, so we need to create some kind of value for our shareholders. So better ROE for our shareholders. Those are the 5 principles of the 3-year strategy.
When we come back after the break, let's start with the ROI. I'm interested. If I'm holding a few of your markets on NESD, I want to know how much I can get for that. Haruna Jallo Waziri, who is the managing director and chief executive of the Nigeria's Central Securities Clearance System.